Why has this argument come back round again? Is it because there is a genuine case to look at, should we leave, that makes us a bit more like Russia and Belarus in those countries that are on the European continent who are not signed up to it, but then Australia isn't signed up to it. Canada has its own mechanism, so does the US. Countries that we consider sort of fluffy and warm and liberal and nice, they don't have outsourced international bodies like the European Court of Human Rights. They do it themselves. So is there a legitimate argument to say we should come out, or is this political posturing, the sort of the death throes of a pretty desperate administration looking for absolutely anything they can to try and move the needle in the polls? We mentioned the polls yesterday, or the one that came out from YouGov yesterday. They're on for a bigger defeat than in 1997. What more can they say? Seamus is in Wallington. Seamus.
Good afternoon to you, Tom.
Hello, sir. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, what the government should do is what they have been elected to do and what the ordinary person in this country wants them to do. Secure our borders, keep us safe, and have a sensible scheme in place to attract the people that will enhance this country. The narrative is constantly spoiled and misguided because as soon as you make comments like this, you get brushed into the nationalist, the populist, etc. It will never happen because the political elite and the media elite do not want it to happen. We will never leave the ECHR. We need to completely leave the ECHR because we cannot have rules forced upon us that actually harm us. So people who come to this country and harm us, we need to have a mechanism by which we can remove them without referring to an independent third party. We need to be able to contain and control our own borders. But Rishi Sunak, why is he doing this now? Because there's an election coming in the next 6 months and he wants to bang the drum and hopefully fool a lot of people into believing that he will do it. He's got no intentions of doing it, ever.
So you want us to leave the ECHR, Seamus, that's pretty clear.
I want us to protect our borders, protect our citizens, to ensure that we are in control.
Okay. The element of control you talk about, this argument about sovereignty and what have you, it's a sovereign decision to choose to be part of it. Do you agree with that?
Choose to be part of the ECHR?
Yeah, no one forced
us
to. Exactly. So it remains a sovereign decision of the United Kingdom to be part of this thing. Yeah?
Yeah, I accept that.
What is it that removal from the ECHR would mean we could do that we can't currently?
Well, we can't remove people. I actually experienced this firsthand because I work in the criminal justice system. We have people who commit crimes in this country, quite serious crimes, who have settled in this country. And no matter how heinous the crimes, the minute the card is thrown on the table about a right to a family life, all bets are off, and then you can do absolutely nothing. You can come to this country illegally. Your first relationship with this country is to enter it illegally. So, not to respect the rules and laws and culture and values of this country, and then there is nothing that we can do about it.
Well, there's not nothing we can do about it, is there? There are people who are foreign national offenders who are removed from this country on a very, very regular basis, almost daily basis.
Have you had a look at the figures? Have you seen how many are being removed every month?
Well, it depends on who and to where, doesn't it? There are huge numbers of foreign national offenders removed to countries like Albania, to countries like India. We can deport people, Seamus. So I'll come back to the question of...
I would argue when you actually look at the data and look at the numbers, I think you change your opinion on what huge is.
Well, what numbers do I need to see to show that I'm wrong?
Well, have a look at the Home Office stats on removals, forced removals.
Yes.
And then have a look at the numbers, the illegal immigration numbers that are coming in, and tell me whether or not you see any parity in that.
Well, that would suggest that people coming into this country require immediate deportation because they're criminals, but that's obviously not true, is it?
No. But the whole point...
So you have to actually commit a crime to be a foreign national offender in this country. Not by coming into this country legally doesn't mean you're up for deportation, thank God.
No, quite rightly so, Tom. But
Absolutely.
If you're coming in, if you start a relationship that's based on illegality, that's not a good way.
But you talked about legal migration. People coming in legally haven't started the relationship based on illegality. They've done it legally.
I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with illegal immigration. I actually support legal immigration. There is a right way of doing things, but when you can't secure your borders, you can't control what type of people are coming into
So who is it you
the
want
country.
Seamus, who do you want to deport?
People who enter the country illegally do not have a right to be in this country.
Right, so the people who people who enter this country
unless they engage in a legal, appropriate way.
So claim asylum would be one of the legal and appropriate ways in which people can do that.
And then if it's suitable, then they can be accepted and integrated.
Absolutely.
People who break the law have lost the right to stay in this country.
Agree.
People who do a sentence of 12 months or more should be deported.
Totally agree. So given that we can deport people, foreign national offenders, that the difficulty with some asylum seekers who have failed that asylum claim is that we don't have agreements in place with countries to deport them to. That isn't an ECHR issue. That's an agreement with the country that we want to deport them to. What is the ECHR currently stopping that you think means we need to remove ourselves from it?
I believe that the ECHR oversees our ability to control our borders and won't allow us to control our borders. And I believe that the ECHR will stop us from having a robust deterrent in place to deter people who want to start a relationship with this country on an illegal footing, which I don't see that we should accept.
But just give me an example of it, Shane. All I want is an example. I'm here. I'm ready to listen to you. I'm ready to hear of the argument that you're making. But I can't actually see what example you're giving of where the ECHR is acting as that block.
Well, you gave examples when you opened the show of people who have murdered people who we've not been able to deport because the ECHR has intervened.
Abu Qatada was someone who we wanted to get rid of.
I think you gave two or three examples, Tom, at the start of the show. We cannot have an external organisation telling us.
So did you listen to the start of the show and think, my God, he's right, we need to leave the ECHR? Or did you come to the programme thinking we should leave the ECHR, here are all the reasons why we should leave it, but actually I'm relying on his? Seamus, I just don't know what... Give me a reason for leaving.
In order that we can be in full control of our borders and who comes into the country and who leaves. I honestly believe that the ECHR stops us from doing that.
And now give me a reason why you believe that. Why do you believe that?
Because of the amount of people who have entered this country legally and illegally have then committed crimes and who we've not been able to deal with and or address, even though we have so-called processes in place.
And even if
what we
those
don't
reasons
have
that we can't
is the political structures or will or leadership that will actually address any of this.
Even if we can't deport those people,
time, so it's banging the drum.
Not all of those reasons are because of the ECHR, are they? There are plenty of reasons why we can't deport people, which is very frustrating to have people in this country who we don't want here and shouldn't be here, like, people like Abdullah Zaidi, for example, should never have been in this country, should have been removed earlier. Part of the issue is the indolence of the Home Office, and part of the issue is the fact that there aren't returns agreements in places for a lot of countries that we'd like to send people back to. None of it has got anything to do with the ECHR.
Some of our courts decide that it is appropriate to remove someone. Our legal system decides it's appropriate to remove someone. I think it's unacceptable for an external, unrelated court to contravene that wish. That it's fundamentally unacceptable.
I don't disagree with you. But all I need is an example and how often this is happening, because clearly there are very big implications of leaving the ECHR.
Well, you gave examples in your show earlier on. We have people committing crimes who we're not able to deport.
I gave Abu Qatada and the fact that David Cameron, as Prime Minister, ignored the ECHR, who ruled that prisoners should be given the vote. He ignored it.
No Prime Minister will ever vote to leave the ECHR. They don't believe in it. Neither do the legal elite, neither do the media elite. But the ordinary man on the street wants us to protect our borders and wants our country to be safe. The ECHR cares more about the perpetrators of damage and harm than it does the victims. That is the perception in this country, Tom.
And what if you're wrong?
Well, I have an opinion that's based on how I interpret what I see and hear and the communities that we live in and how I form my political opinions. Of course I could be wrong, but I'm only being honest with you and telling you how I think and why.
I'm grateful to you for it. Seamus, thank you for calling the show.